Well, I couldn't find any organic, but I had this stored back and I pulled it out and I thought, I just been craving sauerkraut. So I went ahead, I had some sourdough bread that I toasted in the pan with some butter. And I put I didn't have any regular, the cheese that you get, Swiss cheese. But I had some spicy jack cheese. So I put a slice of that on it, and I had some leftover roast. I sliced that up and put on it, and my sauerkraut, and it was really good. And but now I've got this. I used very, very little of my sauerkraut. What am I going to do with the rest of the jar of this sauerkraut? I'm going to get sick of my sandwiches after a while. So I looked up some different ideas, and I thought I would share some of those ideas with you. Now, I'm not going to show the whole recipes. I'm just going to give you some ideas, and you can use your imagination, but it'll get you some other ideas. If you're like me, I thought, what am I going to do with all this sauerkraut? I've got it open. I need to eat it, which I'm enjoying it. I don't always like sauerkraut that much, except on a Reuben and maybe with some cut up hot dogs, which is another recipe. You try to get a decent hot dog that's not full of nitrates and stuff, and cook it up and slice it in little chunks and warm up your sauerkraut and mix that together, and it makes a nice tangy little thing. But I've never really been into sauerkraut much, but after I was sick this winter, I have just been craving sauerkraut like crazy. So let me give you some ideas of what you can do with sauerkraut. And by the way, welcome to Gail's Garden Herbs and More. And sauerkraut's not an herb, but it is a good for you vegetable. So I used to make sauerkraut myself when the kids were growing up. I had got lots of cabbage and jars, and I made my own sauerkraut, and I really liked it because it wasn't so strong. And one thing I like about this particular brand is it's a mild. It's not so astringent, I guess you'd say. I don't know. I just really like it a lot better. But let's think about some other ideas we can use for sauerkraut. Now, one thing that I used to do a lot of when my kids were growing up was a casserole type. It was like sauerkraut and potatoes and sausage. And that was really good. So that's one idea that you can do with sauerkraut. That's one idea. There's different types of casseroles. You want to keep in mind what goes with the sauerkraut. There's certain meats that seem to go with it, like hot dogs or pastrami or roast beef. And sausages, those go well with it. So use your imagination. You could do all kinds of casseroles with a hot dog or sausage of any kind. You could do like a macaroni with a white sauce. Mix it all, and then your sauerkraut, that would be really, really good. Of course, your regular Reuben sandwich, and you can even do little different things like rolls. Do it with rolls, and most of the time they use rye bread, but I usually use sourdough. But you can try different breads and maybe make little mini slider Reubens, or there's just a lot of things like that you could do. I have heard of, now I haven't tried this, you guys, and I might not because I'm trying to stay away from sugar, but I'll let you guys know. A sauerkraut, it's going to sound terrible, but sometimes things that sound terrible really taste different than what you think. A sauerkraut chocolate cake. Now, you may have to experiment with that. I would chop it up real good, not the long strands, before I added it. But it would probably make it very moist, which would be nice. And give it just a little, I don't know. I think it might be really good, and one of these days I might actually try it. Then you have like your stuffed cabbage. You know how you take cabbage leaves and stuff it? There's all different types of things. Now, wild rice is supposed to go with sauerkraut pretty good, so you might try different things, but stuff it with sauerkraut and wild rice or something like that. That might be really good. You could do like a sloppy joe, but with the meats that go good with it, and then your sauerkraut would kind of was what would make your sloppy joe. Okay, let's see. You could do a dip with it. Make like you could probably cut up little pieces of pastrami and make a dip, and then cut up I would cut my sauerkraut up fairly small with the dip too. And you know those little dry bread squares that you can get, or you could make your own or whatever. You could use those to dip into the dip. That actually would probably be really good. Or you could make biscuits and stuff it with the sauerkraut and meat and whatever else you might come up with. Cheese, that kind of things. That would be good. And another thing is you might make a wild rice salad with it. I would experiment a little. All you have to do is keep in mind certain meats go with it and certain things go with it better. You could macaroni would be good, wild rice, your pastrami, roast beef, ham, hot dogs, sausages. Those go really well with the sauerkraut. So this isn't real long. This is just to give you some ideas of what you can do with your sauerkraut. Also remember that certain breads, most of the time people use rye, but I've found that sourdough is really good with your sauerkraut as well. So that's a couple ideas for the bread. I hope you like this video. I hope it's giving you some ideas, and I hope you give it a thumbs up, and I hope you try some of these recipes. And let me know below in the comments what you think about this, and if you have any favorite sauerkraut recipes. And I will catch you all next time. Bye now.